Hello and welcome. In this video we will add a third dimension to our rectangle and add a function to compute and report the volume of the rectangle. This video assumes that you have watched the How to Get Started 101 video. We are starting with the code that we had for the Getting Started 101 video. I've changed the name of my class on line 8 to Rectangle 202. And I've changed the name of my source code file, but otherwise I'm starting with the same code I ended up with at the end of the 101 video. In the 101 video, I worked with a two-dimensional rectangle and I calculated the area of the rectangle. In this video, let's pretend that we want to add depth to the rectangle, effectively making it a box. First, we will add a variable to record the depth of the box. And then we will multiply the depth of the box times the height and base that we already have in the code. Let's start by adding a depth variable to our rectangle class. To do this, we go to line 30. We want the depth variable to be a float type, like the other variables. So we've assigned a type and a name, and we want to also assign it an initial value. I'm going to go with 2 just for demo purposes. I also want to create a volume variable. This variable is also of type float. At this point, I'm going to assign the value 222 to the volume. Now I want to add a method that will calculate the volume of my rectangle, which is now really a box. The formula for the volume is base times height times depth. It is important to note that I want to create my method within the rectangle class, but outside of any of the other methods that I have created inside the rectangle class. So, at line 63, let's make some white space so we have room to work. At line 64, I'm going to type the declaration of my function, which is just void followed by the method name. And then 2 parentheses that touch the method name. I don't want any space between the method name and the parentheses, or between the parentheses. I want the name and all the parentheses to touch. On line 65, I put an opening bracket, and on line 67, I put a closing bracket. Anything I put between these brackets is part of the show volume method. On line 66, I make a note to myself that I am in the show volume method. On line 67, I make a note to myself that the value of the volume variable is currently 222, which is the value I assigned to the variable when I created it on line 30. I want to fix this to reflect the dimensions I have assigned to height, base, and depth. On line 68, I multiplied the value of the base, the height, and the depth, and I assigned this result to the variable volume, which was defined on line 31. On line 69, I do an output to show the new value of the volume variable. As shown in the 101 video, I use concatenation to append some new text to a variable. On line 70, I have a note to self telling me that I'm about to exit the method. Now that I have created the show volume method, let's add a call to it in the app main method so that the show volume method will be executed. Let's go to line 40 and add the function call. Now I can click the green button to compile the code. I click the red button to run it. When I check my output, I see that the volume variable was originally set to 222, but I recalculated it and it produced 24, which is the correct volume of a box that is 3 by 4 by 2. This is the end of the 202 rectangle video. In the next video, I'll show you how to accept input from the user so that they can input the values for height, base, and depth.